All right. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure. I think we're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. I am your host, Rico Muhammad. No, I got to get the audiences together. I apologize. Bear with me just a second, ladies and gentlemen. We are trying to get the stream going on Instagram as well this evening since we are live and in living color coming to you live. I'm coming to you guys live from North Carolina. Um, Chuck is, of course, in Canada. So give me just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. I'm going to bring Chuck up, my co host. Good evening, Chuck.
Hey, Rico, how are you? Congratulations. I heard you were interviewed by NBC.
Yes. We just got off. Before we jumped on here, we were able to have a nice little conversation with NBC. And they wanted to talk about the stuff in the news as far as the English proficiency and what kind of effect is that having on trucking and all of that good stuff. And so we were able to kind of give them our opinion, so to speak.
Well done, man.
So I am moving. I might be jumping around. I don't know how it's looking on that end, but I'm trying to get our Instagram stream going as well so that we can be streaming on multiple platforms. And there we go. I think we are live on Instagram.
Okay.
So, and with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you would do us a huge favor before we jump all the way into the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And since we are live tonight, you can be interactive with us. Just type your comments into the chat. We should be able to see them, whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or even Instagram. Hopefully, we'll be able to see that translate over to the stream, and we'll be able to interact with you guys if you have any questions. And without any further ado, I want to go ahead and welcome in our guest for this evening, Mr. Darryl Rutherford from Rico Specialized. It's been a little while, Darryl. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. It has been a bit, but glad to be back on.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back on. And before we jump into it, Darryl, I want to give I'm trying to get my information up here really quickly. I want to give a real quick little synopsis on how the industry has been performing when it comes to fuel rate, the average cost of diesel fuel, and the average cost of the different segments. So just give me a few minutes, Darryl, before I'm going to jump right into it here. If my technology cooperates with me, which is I've been having a little bit of technical difficulties this evening.
It's doing better now.
Well, at least one of them is this one's not wanting to. I'm getting the spinning pinwheel of death. There we go. All right. So we are showing that the national average price for the U.S. diesel, we are down 9 cents from the previous week on a national average. We're showing a national average of $3.67 per gallon. And when it comes down to, I say my technology is it's glitching something terrible. I can't even get my my rate information up. So okay, I guess we'll skip that part of the segment for this. But Darryl, since it's been a little while, and I don't think that we have talked or spoke since the big news of the industry has come down. The English language proficiency and the non-domicile CDL driver has kind of been in the forefront of everything. How have you been seeing any effect on any of that stuff? Has it affected any of your business?
No, we haven't seen any effect at all. The only thing I noticed is a lot of our guys are noticing that immigrants aren't talking in the truck stops. I had to pop out to Portland and pick up a truck, and I come back. I try to talk to everybody. I always say hello, how you doing, good morning, getting a cup of coffee, and a lot of them aren't even answering you back. They just walk on by like they didn't even hear you. So as far as rates, though, I haven't seen anything be missing or extra freight because of it. I just think they're being a little more careful. But I don't think Washington's enforcing it. Montana's not enforcing it. I don't think North Dakota is either.
Mm.
It's interesting because they're supposed to be. And the news we're hearing in the media all over is, oh yeah, we're out there, we're hammering, we're doing this. Maybe it's all lip service.
I think there's certain states that are kind of heavy-handed, coming with a much more heavier-handed approach to it than other states. I definitely think, especially like Oklahoma, Arkansas, states like that, I definitely think that those states are definitely on the forefront. I think I seen something on, I think it might have been Mother Trucker or something, where they had a news story from the Arkansas DOT. They were doing another kind of a 3-day blitz, so to speak, at one of their scale houses, and they were targeting the English language proficiency and things of that nature.
Well, you don't want to have a broken clearance light or a burned out clearance light in those states. Never mind not being able to speak English.
Washington State does enforce it, but they've always enforced it. If a guy really can't speak, they'll write him up. But I don't see extra enforcement. No one has seen extra enforcement. Not like some of the southern states, like Oklahoma and stuff like that, right? Arkansas.
Right.
Well, they're actually pulling drivers out of the truck. We had a case. It's got to be well over 20 years ago, where we had a Polish gentleman driving a straight truck with a 26-foot box on it or something with a sleeper, and he was running expedites for us. Great driver, but his English was horrible. Little Joe, and he got a ticket for his lack of English. They let him go right away. They didn't pull him out of the truck. But I guess is that up to the state, or is that a federal thing, Rico, where they're pulling him out of the truck versus giving them a ticket? How does that work?
Well, from what I understand, it depends on who you get stopped. Depends on which agency stops you. I've been hearing some places saying that their ICE has been at some truck stops, some rest areas, going up, knocking on doors, and all that type of deal. So I guess it really depends on who stops you. ICE is supposed to be, it's a government, federal agency, and if it's local or state authorities, I guess it's up to their discretion on how they want to approach it.
Yeah.
When I talked to when I was delivering Christmas trees a couple of weeks back, I was talking with because I got pulled into the ag station there in Florida, and that was one of the places where they were saying, I remember seeing a story that they were going to be doing more inspections at the ag stations. So while I was in there getting inspected with my Christmas trees, I was asking the officer, what happens and how do they handle those type situations, and they when they put someone out of service, someone's got to fly in to come and get that truck or whatever, because they can't go back into service. But the crazy thing about that is that's at that one incident. But once they get back or whatever, it seems like they're putting that driver right back in the truck.
Oh, okay. That was my next question. Whether you got your CDL pulled because of lack of English proficiency, or they just said leave the truck and.
Well, I don't know if they're even giving a damn, because I've been hearing some stories about there was an accident or something like that where the driver didn't even have a CDL at all.
I heard about that one. Yeah.
It's definitely, and that's what, with the interview that I gave with the NBC tonight, I said, I really think that the motoring public, if they really knew what was really going on out here, I think that people would be up in arms which is one of the reasons why I think that we're having the plaintiffs' bars having such a field day across the nation with these nuclear verdicts, is because, we've done a terrible job at self-policing.
100%.
So
go ahead,
really good point there. I think they're going about it all wrong. For the English speaking, the guy's passed his license. They should be looking at the state examiner that gave him the license. but they should be going after the owner of the company. Like you said, guy doesn't even have a license. Guy's been put in a truck. He gets put out of service. You put him back in a truck. When are we going to start going after the real people that matter? You know,
I agree.
that's what we need to do. Hit the company, hit it hard, pull their authorities. You know that you shouldn't have that guy in the truck. Why let
There's even been some talk about hitting shippers. Well, I don't know how that would go, but there's even been some talk about hitting some shippers.
that's
I think that's a little punitive. You know, I think it's too punitive. You know, I think you hit the owner of the truck. I agree with Darryl.
so I went into a trucking company when I was out west. I had to do a delivery for when I went out, and nobody in the place. I was walking around 26 doors, looking around, trying to find someone to drop off this kid, going through the office because I'm kind of a nosy guy. I'm just not going to stand there. I want to get out of there. I do LTL. I opened up a door and I'm like, holy crap. There had to be 75 companies on the floor, stickers that they could just put on the trucks.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck? I ended up actually going out, jumping on a forklift and taking the skid off. And I was halfway out when the guy finally showed up and he was giving me shit. And I'm like, what does the matter, man? The whole place is open. I could have took whatever I wanted. There's the problem. In my opinion, there's a problem.
100%.
There's 75 companies on the floor. Why would you even want to do that? Like I'm thinking like the administrative work to having that many companies. Like there was maybe 75 is an exaggeration, but that whole 20 by 20 office was covered in different companies, stacks of the stickers.
No, that's been one of the things that they've been finding out is that a lot of these places have, when it comes to going back and looking at their DOT information, you got 20, 30 companies being run out of a tool shed, basically.
Yeah, that's who we need to go after. I think picking on the driver, if they're legally licensed, they can drive. Might get some hate mail on this. I do think English language is important to be able to describe stuff, understand. But if they're not perfect at English and they can tell you what the problem is, they can tell you how to get help. Are we really doing us any favors by really picking on an immigrant?
I don't think it's a necessarily a situation of picking on the immigrant. I'm definitely sensitive to that aspect of it, but I do think that there really is a serious safety issue when it comes down to with as much construction that is going on right now on the roads, and if someone can't read to know not to go in a certain direction or not to take a certain turn, or can't realize what bridge height is what. I think that we are running. It's only a matter of time before we're gambling, and it's only a matter of time before that ends badly. So I think from a safety standpoint, I think that's where it definitely comes in at. I'm not all for if a guy comes here from any other country or anywhere else. I'm all for a person being able to put food on the table and feed his family and all of that stuff 100%. But when it comes to a safety aspect of, my family's going down the highway, your family's going down the highway, I don't want to. I just cringe at the thought of what possibly could happen if that goes wrong.
Well, and it is going wrong all the time. Yeah. We're having these crazy crashes because people can't read. And any of us, we all know how to drive trucks. But put us somewhere, put us in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, wherever you pick it, without being able to read road signs, how long would we last?
Yeah, I think that's the number one thing. And then when it comes down to our licensing system in this country was really broken. And now that Darryl, you say you're not really seeing an effect, but down here in my neck of the woods, I definitely can tell that there is a huge difference since the English language proficiency has kind of become the front page story. I definitely have seen freight rates increase on my end. I've seen before you would post your truck. It's like the old days, kind of like now. Before, you would post your truck on a load board and I wouldn't hardly get a phone call. Now I can post my truck And it's like I say, it's back to the old days. I'm getting phone calls after phone call after phone call of people looking to book that truck. And they're disappointed when that truck is no longer available because but it's definitely, I'm seeing an effect on my end. It's anecdotal as that may be, but I definitely have seen since the English language has come into effect.
Well, you're also domiciled in the U.S., where Darryl and I are both domiciled up in Canada. So it's certainly Canada couldn't, if you didn't even know how to read, you'd get a license. And it's not a joke. They will get you a translator. If you can't read the test to do the multiple choice computerized tests, they will get a translator for you to accommodate you. That's the difference.
So,
go ahead.
That's the other thing is where I run, a lot of companies can keep their drivers in Canada, run them all the way to BC, then put an English-speaking driver from BC down into Washington, Oregon. So they just circumvent the rules, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I saw a flash come up here from one of our listeners, Heather, who is a very, very well-respected attorney. And she said, yeah, the shippers are next. So I guess they're talking about a way of suing the shippers into this, which I'm really surprised at.
Well, and it's another thing that now that the brokers are making, that they are going out of their way to not qualify, to try to basically not qualify the driver. They don't want to get that vicarious liability. It's kind of has long tentacles, and a lot of brokers are now going way out of their way. Look, ignorance, I can be ignorant about it. Don't tell me nothing.
Yeah, but a blind eye can get stabbed too. I think that's foolish of the brokers, especially in this climate. I think they're being foolish because ignorance of the law is no excuse. And especially with these nuclear settlements, I just read one the other day.
Prime just got hit with one.
Yeah. Now, it's called New Prime or something else?
Yeah.
Is it the same Prime out of Verona that I've known for 40 odd years? Well, it's a $40 million lawsuit. When I heard about this, I said in my comment to whoever was kind enough to send it to me, I said, there'll be some lawyers on all sides getting sailboats because that's who gets rich on these.
Right.
I still say they got to go back to the heart of it. Whoever licensed them needs to be fined, and the carriers, the person hiring them, putting them in the truck, needs to really be
the system is broken. There should be if federal, there should be federalized standards. In my opinion, 100%. I think there should be a federalized standard when it comes to CDLs, and they need to have some type of, I don't know if it's got to be a third party or something like that to certify the whole situation or whatever, but it has to come away from, because when you got 50 different states and 50 different jurisdictions, 50 different rules, and everybody can kind of make up the thing as they go along, that's where people have recognized and seen where the weak spots are, and that's why you got all of the people going to certain states getting the licenses and things of that nature, because they once they find out that, hey, and don't go to the DMV in Chicago. There's a much more friendly one that's up north on the north side of Chicago. Don't.
It's true.
Don't go to that one. So and it doesn't take long, and with all of the things that we have going wrong in our industry, with all of the fraud and everything else, it's we're sitting in a situation where I'll tip my hat. I'm not I'll go on record as far as I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not a real big Trump fan when it comes to his politics. But the Secretary Duffy that he has put in the place over the DOT, he is the most consequential guy that has been in that position since I have had my CDLs. I don't remember anyone having this much of an effect on our industry as he has.
Yeah, you know what? The trucking industry got to him, and you know what? ears were open, and he's finally doing something about it. It's not just lip service and showing up for ribbon cutting ceremonies. This guy's, he's taking names and kicking ass. Congratulations. But I think on top of that, I think you hit the nail on the head, Rico, when you said third party. I think that I think everybody needs an audit, and I think you pay for an audit, and it should be $500, whatever it costs. And these third party companies should be allowed to do them. Desktop audits, and find out, and if there's any question, this guy's a shady operator, he's operating 23 companies out of one warehouse, then you send in the employee of the federal government with boots on the ground to check it out and see what's going on here.
And here's the thing: we need it's crazy, right? So everyone's supposed to have been mandated to have ELDs, but they allow these companies to self-certify the ELDs. There's no, instead of the government calling balls and strikes and having, or maybe even having a third party take that over and saying, well, this is the certified ELD provider. When you got, and that's why so many people have been able to skirt the rules, and you got one driver that's able to drive 20 hours because they got a back door into the ELD system to be able to give themselves more hours.
Yeah.
And so you can't just have, it's just been a complete mess, and they got to get all of this stuff. It's all like a lot of stuff happening at once, but they got to get their arms around this thing, because it is wild. It is really the wild, wild west out here.
Yeah, I think right now we'd be better off with paper logs compared to all the cheating that's going on.
Yeah.
So it's the enforcement, though, and it depends on the enforcement officer, the state running through it. I know of an individual who went and changed his motor. He had a 2006 660, so it should have an ELD. He spent $50,000, I don't know why, to put a 1999 motor in it.
Get great fuel mileage.
if you read the regs, that's illegal.
Right.
Glider could have been done and done it right, but because I was going to buy a bunch of gliders too when it first came out, because I didn't like the IALD rule and I was going to get around it. It's going to ruin trucking the whole 9 yards. So I went and read it. If you bought a glider and you got a Detroit motor, the problem is the motor could be a 99, but if Detroit's rebuilt it, they stamp it rebuilt in the year that they built it. So if they rebuilt it in 2008, it's now a 2008. You got to have an ELD. I'm like, well, there's no sense spending all this money to have it. Emissions was one thing, but the logbook was one thing. This guy's running up and down the road, and no one's checking him. He's been through inspections, paper. He's got 99. Well, if they research his VIN number, it's not a glider. He's not allowed to have a 99 in it. He has to have a 2008 motor and a 2008 truck.
Well, that's the thing too. And I brought this up on my interview with NBC, that the federal FMCSA doesn't have nowhere near the manpower that they need to really get this thing under control. Okay. They got much more. The FAA has a ton of staff people over there in the FAA, but over here on the truck side, we don't have there's nowhere near enough people to kind of help enforce and make sure that things are done correctly on this side of the equation.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe what has to happen is we're going to have to pay for this, but I think it'll help straighten the market out. It'll certainly make our highways safer, and I think we're all in agreement on that. We need safer roadways because it's gotten crazy.
Absolutely. Chuck and I were talking about rates earlier, and I was trying to do a little bit of rate up the numbers I'm coming up with. I think they need to just put the people in place, and if the taxes got to go up, taxes got to go up. We've got to solve this problem. People are dying. People are getting fraud, stolen. Companies are losing thousands of dollars over fraudulent loads. And it's all affecting us good operators. Huge.
Sure. You're paying the insurance for the bad operators that have these horrible wrecks. And it's needless. It's so senseless. I got a list today. This was really shocking, of how many trucking training schools were closed in Ontario by the Ontario Ministry of Transport because they were incompetent and they were turning
Yeah,
people that were untrained. There
yeah,
were
they're going after the schools as well. They're going at they put schools on notice across the United States that they're on notice about being these CDL mills. They have definitely put them on notice as well. They're shutting a lot of this stuff down.
But so you have a CDL mill, and they didn't train a driver properly. But how is that driver getting a license? He's supposed to be tested, is he not? The schools
Well,
are.
that's the crazy thing. There's so much corruption that has been going on that throughout. I've seen stories. I've seen some of the wildest stuff. I'm like, man. I mean, it almost looks like Mission Impossible. I've seen stuff where people have gone into the DMVs with cameras, with a hole in their shirt, with a camera in there, with an earpiece, and they got somebody translating to them, or whatever, giving them the answers, and then outright greasing palms. I've seen stories where people have been fired from the DMVs where they've been taking bribes and just basically rubber stamping whoever comes through.
Yeah.
So it's
You would think, Rico and Darryl, you'd think they would catch it at some level. Okay, so you're a brand new minted CDL driver that has no experience. You're going for your first job. What are you supposed to do by law? You're supposed to road test that applicant. That's part of the process. Who the hell's signing to road test these bozos?
and that's the thing with the non-domicile situation. I was listening to a conversation. That the reason that the non-domicile got put through was that a lot of ATA kind of pushed for that, because if they got a driver training somewhere in a different part of the country, then they can't train or whatever, so they have to be able to do a non-domicile permit, but then they don't want to put that person with a trainer to go back to their home state to actually get them certified. They want to, so this thing is kind of, we have allowed this thing to get way out of whack, and so we shouldn't have that whole thing. OIDA fought that thing tooth and nail back when they was trying to get it done, but unfortunately they lost that battle.
Yeah, it's too bad, because you know what, things are a mess.
Let's see here. Gino said, go ahead, Darryl.
On your domicile thing, okay. So say someone is from Indiana and they get a job with Swift, and they go to Arizona to do training with Swift and Swift's program. I don't honestly see a problem if they're properly trained, can speak, to do the whole thing, they do the proper test, if they get a license in Arizona. Or why isn't the exam, I might not use reciprocal, back to Indiana? So they do everything in Arizona, they get a signed off sheet saying, hey, you passed the test, then they can fly home, go to their DMV and get an Indiana license. Why isn't it done that way? Like, for example, when I went for my bike license, I went through a course because I've been trying to get my license for 20 years. And they just signed a piece of paper after we went for a ride. And I went to the DMV up here, and they gave me my bike license. So
I think that the company, if the company wants to hire that driver, they've made the investment to put them through their training. I think that the company, this is just my opinion, I think the company should put that driver with a trainer, get them back to their home state, let them be able to test in if that's the way that it has to be done, let them be able to test in their home state and get certified and do away with the whole non-domicile situation. I think that it's the person needs to be driving in it. He needs to be with a trainer anyway. Get them back to it shouldn't be that difficult to get them back home, to be able to get them certified, to get their certified in their state. If they've already made if they've already made the investment in them to put them through the training school and everything already anyway.
If we had a federal standard in both countries that was the same, whether you were in Newfoundland, Canada, or you're in California, it does not matter. There's a North American standard like what they have in Europe. Okay. Every truck in Europe drives at 90 kilometers an hour, which is 55 miles an hour. You cannot do 56, no matter what you do. You can't do 56. Trucks won't do it. They have rules there. There's the odd guy that figured out when I was in Italy, I had a cab driver that was telling us that he was a truck driver and he rented out his truck driving license for the summer because he drove cab. He could make more money. So there is larceny everywhere, but it certainly lessens the larceny when you have a good or a good continent-wide set of rules that both countries, since we share roads, that we all buy into.
100%. 100%. I want to bring back up the comment here. Crazy thing is that they have carriers out right now that can change the driver's log daily. And if he or she runs out of hours, they can change the LD where they have fresh hours and continue to run. And these jokers are running 1,000+ miles in a single. I didn't get a chance. It cut off on me. Yes, single driver running team miles.
Yeah, back in the old days, people used to do that, but we didn't have the consequences of nuclear settlements and all the other thing, and we knew what we were doing a little better than these guys today.
Which makes it difficult for people that are trying to run by the rules. When you got people, you got people that are willing to run illegally like that and run for the bottom dweller rates that have been out here. Because for the life of me, and I'm glad to see that this thing is starting to really get some light of day to it. But you've had Heartland Express has been for years has been one of the most efficient companies out there. And when you seeing information coming out about Heartland Express being running loads for less than the cost of operations, so that means they're losing money on every single load that they're pulling. You can't do that you can only do that for so long before you're gonna have to pay the piper.
Well, yeah, you can't have a business where you lose money. It's against the principles of business. You have to make money.
Yeah. So I believe that's what's happened. We were sitting here scratching our heads, and everybody's been wondering, we haven't seen this type of market ever. Usually we know that the market runs in cycles, and everybody that's been in this business for any amount of time, you expect things to run in a certain cycle, but this cycle has been a little bit different and been quite peculiar. And no one's really been able to kind of put their finger on what the hell is really going on. But I think that we may have found what the problem. Let me correct myself. When we saw that the numbers were exploding with the amount of carriers that were coming into the industry, we were saying then that, man, we can't, somebody's got to go out of business. And we were wondering, how long would it take for people to start going out of business? And people were going out of business, but not at the clip that it
more coming
making any change.
Yeah.
But as soon as they really started dropping the hammer on all of these different regulations that they come out, it can be anecdotal, but from my experience, I definitely have seen change.
I think down in the U.S., you have seen our situation is totally different up here, but we do play in that U.S. market, and yeah, it has changed, and it's not perfect yet, but it's getting better.
I got an email last week, and I put back as nice as I could to just take me off their list. Don't even offer me loads. 250 loads a month, year-long contract from Nashville, Tennessee to Toronto. Rates 1,800 Canadian. I figured I ran my miles because I ran out because I was interested in it. $1.83 a mile. I just put back. You know what? I'm a 275 minimum is my minimum. I'm trying to get the 343. 343 is really where I need to be if I'm doing a full load. And I put back, just take me off the list. I don't want to work with you. You're too cheap. I'm 275 a mile. And I got bombarded that I shouldn't be running trucks if I need 275 a mile.
It's wild.
I guess I shouldn't be running trucks. I guess maybe I'm the problem.
I don't think so.
It's wild. It's
definitely
wild
not the problem. It's the guys like Heartland. They're doing it cheaper for less money than what they're getting from the customer. There's your problem.
Yeah.
Right. And,
And
like I
it's
said,
here.
when you got people that are coming over, and unfortunately, I've heard stories, and like I say, I don't want to begrudge anybody for trying to support their families, but it's a real issue when you're seeing you go to at certain truck stops and you see people getting one driver get out, two driver get out. But I've heard people tell me they've seen as many as 8-10 drivers get out of one truck.
Oh my God.
One truck.
I guess if you put where they live and what they're used to and what they're making, you figure if I put my customer service in Pakistan, I can get $350 an hour. If you're used to making $350 an hour and you come here and someone offers you 20, you're
Right.
the right to send money back home.
Right.
So that it's obviously education, understanding cost, and what I hear out of just about any person who starts, because I've watched a few of my buddies start companies, and I did something totally different. I tried to figure out what my companies were making, and I need to be at that level. But every time I heard it, oh, well, that guy's making 15% off it, so I can start my own company and I can do it for 15% cheaper. No, you can't, because one day you're going to have all those expenses he has, and how are you going to pay for it?
Yep.
Education. But I do notice that there's a lack of mentorship, friendship. Like if someone talks to me, I'll tell them, I'll help them walk through numbers. I'll make an Excel sheet with them and work it out, because it's better to have someone out there competing with me that knows the numbers, because then they're competing on the right level. And if they're better than me, shake their hand, congratulations, all the best. It becomes a true fight. But when they're going out there and they're dropping the rate 15% off of someone that's running for $1.83, they're definitely going to go broke. But until they go broke, the rest are going broke too.
Right.
So I think we, as an industry, need to start having more open dialogue, being clear about it. I don't need to go out there and tell everybody my rates, but at the same time, I don't need to lie either.
And the thing about it is, for a little while when ELDs came into effect, we saw rates bump up a little bit, and then it went right back down. And I was under the impression, I was a proponent initially. I was like, well, it don't seem like once they were saying the ELDs were coming and there was nothing that we could do to stop it. Okay, well, let's get on board with it. And I was like, well, this could be, my thought at the time was this could be a good thing, because now we shouldn't have an issue of getting detention. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't have an issue of being able to get detention or being able to charge for our time properly, because hey, the satellite sees us. They know when they're tracking us. They know when we're there. They know when we get back moving. So there shouldn't be an issue as far as well, you got to do all this, write your in and out times and all this. You see it. You got the information there. Why do I even have to go through this? But it's still you still have to play the game, so to speak, and we still haven't made any real headway when it comes to that detention front as well. We still have that battle to fight.
That's for a whole other show. I think we could do a month of shows on detention.
So I think the basics of the problem is you have people starting business that don't understand trucking. They don't own trucks at all. And there's some good brokers out there, but there's a lot of shady brokers out there, and they don't value the time or the relationship. Like I've actually had brokers try to tell me that my rate's too high because I shouldn't be charging them for my truck, and I shouldn't be charging them for my dispatcher. That's my problem. I need to figure out how to pay that bill.
Well, Darryl, I got a question before we get out of here. I know that the last time we spoke, I think you said you had some new trucks maybe on order with the new motor in it.
Yes, 13. Yes, they're doing pretty good.
Give me a progress report. I've been wanting to hear.
Very curious.
Fuel mileage is good. One of them's up over 10.
Whoa!
Wow.
I've driven a couple of them. They're not power horses. They're more I'm gonna put it the style of like M11 power, but they're
Right.
steady. The only problem is we International and Scania has got a problem. We're getting a lot of ghost codes, a lot of check engine lights that are nothing. And we're developing oil leaks. I've got the rear main seals on the motors are becoming a problem. So I've got a second one going in next week for it. So, but all in all, the Scania motor has been good.
Is it a gasket issue? Do you know with the oil leaks or what?
Rear main seal. They haven't really told me exactly what's going on. I haven't been able to talk to them. The techs have been so busy. But it's leaking back at the transmission and something with the air compressor and all that. So it takes a week to do it.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think they're good. They're not, like I said, they're not powerhouses, but they're not dogs either.
Yeah.
The worst one was a guy who just I put him down to basically two minutes and the truck shuts off no matter what you do. Because he would just idle, and I have APUs on them the whole 9 yards. So the worst is 7.5.
That's pretty damn good.
The guy who has 93% utilization has been as high as 10.4.
Wow.
So
Man.
Yeah, I want higher.
That's how you. I know we got to get out of here, but I'll say one thing before we leave. And there's an article in, I believe it's Transport Topics that I was looking at. One of the divisions of Brad Jacobs' XPO conglomerate, his LTL division, did less business and made more money because they were able to cut some expenses. It's just food for thought.
Work smarter, not harder.
You got it. And that's Brad Jacobs. He's a legend.
Yes, indeed. Well, Darryl, I want to thank you for taking the time out and coming on here to talk a little shop with us. I definitely appreciate you. How can people find you or get a hold of you if they want to maybe pick your brain or go through some of those numbers you were talking about?
Well, thanks for having me again, as always. Give me a call at 705-214-9659, or you can reach out to Darryl at Darunco Specialized. That's DARUNCO. Just think of Darryl runs company. I'm Darryl. See what we can do, see what I can help. But education is good, and if you got a problem, maybe we can help, or I'll move you on to someone that can.
All right. Well, Chuck, let the good folks. Glad to see you back up in a vertical position now.
Yes, I am. I had to lie down, everybody, for 1 week. I had eye surgery, but it's getting better every day. And it's a pleasure to be here and be sitting upright. If anybody needs anything, please reach out to me at chucksnow280@outlook.com. And with that, Rico, I'll let you back. We're in a hole for another week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you guys for taking the time to hang out with us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you hung out with us, and we're always eternally grateful for you doing so. So until the next time, we want you guys to stay safe out there, stay healthy, stay profitable. Lord have mercy, stay profitable. Keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and God willing, we'll talk at the same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch on the flip-flop. God bless. Good night. Thanks, Darryl. Really appreciate it. Good night.
Cheers.